So, Gabriel Richards, better known as Cabbie, is a sportscaster and media personality who is best known for his time on SportsCenter on TSN, a Canadian sports cable television network. Richards grew up in Toronto, Ontario, and attended Ryerson University's Radio and Television Arts program, RTA program, better known nowadays as Toronto Metropolitan University. Originally an intern at The Score, Richards hosted 5-minute segments called Cabbie on the Street from 2001 to 2002. After leaving The Score, he joined Sportsnet to produce and host the programs NBA XL and J Zone. Richards was also a special correspondent on the Marilyn Dennis Show on CTV from 2011 to 2012, where he brought in a male perspective to conversations about relationships, while also filing reports with Hollywood actors, musicians, and everyday Canadians on the streets. According to Richards, his particular style of journalism, entertain first, inform second, has allowed him to carve out a unique identity. He has managed to interview many A-list athletes as well. These stars include such as Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, RIP, Stephen Curry, Aaron Rodgers, Alexander Ovechkin, Derek Jeter, and Alex Rodriguez, to name a few. Richard's atypical interviews with Kobe Bryant have garnered particular attention. Their frequent collaborations had resulted in the two developing a very interesting, friendly, dynamic relationship. Again, RIP Kobe. Richard's interviews have also spanned into the world of entertainment with celebrities such as Will Smith, Hugh Jackman, Will Ferrell, Kevin Hart, Drake, Wiz Khalifa, A$AP Rocky, Kendrick Lamar. The list goes on. He has also produced and hosted Cabbie Presents, a weekly segment which aired Fridays on SportsCenter on TSN. Cabbie Presents offered a look at professional athletes' lives with a sketch-based format to the segment as well. From 2012 to 2019, Richards also hosted a podcast, Cabbie Presents the Podcast, where he interviewed a variety of sports and entertainment stars. Cabbie left TSN a couple years ago, back in 2019, to pursue other career aspirations. Thereafter, he began co-hosting Bleacher Report's BR betting show alongside expert Kelly Stewart. Richards rejoined Sportsnet, which acquired the Score television network rights back in 2012 as its executive producer of sports betting content in 2021. And now, Cabbie Richards joins me live. How are you doing, brother?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for the comprehensive interview. Your skills at reading Wikipedia, very sharp.
Thank you. Thank you. Wikipedia helped me a lot. I know it's not a reliable source, but
everything in there is factual. So that one's good.
Yeah. I was double checking, that and also your LinkedIn to make sure it corresponded.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. So LinkedIn and the thing really did help out a lot. Got a double fact check, nowadays, especially with Wikipedia not being a reliable source. But thank you. So I can start off by this interview by saying, what made you interested to go into the sports media industry, Cabbie?
I needed an internship originally at Headline Sports, which predates the Score. And this is in the late 90s when I was a student at Ryerson, formerly Ryerson, now TMU. I apologize about my voice. I'm just getting over a 72-hour flu, which just kicked the living hell out of me. I feel like I got bit by several zombies. That's how I felt over the weekend, just ravaged. Yeah. And I'm surprised I don't have pores bursting open in my face to look like the creatures in The Last of Us, which is a great HBO I was about to call it a docuseries. I mean, it could be in like 80 years if ish goes sideways, or maybe even like 15 years of like some, some test goes awry in a lab somewhere. And all of a sudden, the world has zombies. So that's my voice, part of my voice. So I needed an internship when I was studying radio and TV at the Score. Right. And a friend of mine at school, his name is Steph Gagnon, said he approached Adnan Verk and myself, and Adnan is now at the MLB network and the NHL network. He's the most talented of all of our friends from that graduating year at Ryerson. Right. I did not graduate, by the way.
Oh, okay.
But it was at that time in my second year, I was like, yeah, I should probably get an internship. I love sports. And Steph was like, hey, give me your resumes because Headline Sports is looking for interns. And I wasn't like seeking this internship. It just I just happened to be at the right place at the right time, just walking through the Rogers building at on campus and Steph was like, hey, we need bodies that'll work for free.
Right.
You are two 20-year-old dummies, come work for free for Headline Sports. And we're like, all right, cool. So we got internships, and that's how it started. And that's how we started. We learned about television, and Verk was so smart and talented. He got a scholarship, he won an award to go and got like, it was either like $750 or $1,000. It felt like 10,000 to us when we were 20-year-old broke students.
Right.
He went to work at TSN and he started his career over there. So we didn't intern for that long at the Score, but he later returned to the Score, and we've been friends for, God, I want to say it's coming on approaching 30 years. Verk and I were just talking on the phone. We leave each other. I don't know if you guys do this, but I use WhatsApp probably more than any messaging service for two reasons. One, I'm a Samsung guy, and Apple users will unfairly denigrate us as though they don't believe that Samsung phones are more expensive or as expensive as friggin' iPhones. Right. Are you a Samsung guy or an Apple guy?
I'm an Apple guy.
Okay, yeah. So then, and when you see the green text message bubbles, you're like, okay, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm going to judge this person. So WhatsApp is the like universal equalizer. So all the text messages look the same, but voice notes, game changer. I leave voice notes almost every day. So in lieu of having an actual conversation, a voice note, it will do. And voice notes ranging between 1 minute and like 8 minutes. And just listen to the other person, get caught up, and you don't need to have like a conversation for weeks or months because you just can update each other on voice notes. Okay, anyway, to answer your question, that's why I started. I needed an internship.
You need an internship. So you got the internship, right? And then this kind of led you go into this industry, and you've been in this industry for a long time. What place do you feel in this industry you've gained like the most like learning experience from, the skills from?
At which place did I work, or which period in my life?
No, which place did you work? Did you feel like you gained the most like experience and skills from?
Yeah. I would say at Sportsnet, well, early in at Sportsnet from 2002 to 2005, I worked on J Zone and NBA XL. I was a host and a producer.
Yeah.
And we produced 30-minute shows and had a team of, I guess there were like 6 or 8 of us, and working on Cabbie on the Street, which predates J Zone and NBA XL. There's 3 of us.
Right.
It was me, my man B, my man D. And actually there are rotating editors too. So I guess I'd say that's 4 of us, but primarily 3. So it was there at Sportsnet where I was working with a new team. So learning team dynamics, writing. I would write for my co-host. She would write for me. I would be doing different segments, not just like an interview segment, but I would be doing top 10 plays, or hey, here's this day in history, or like different segments within the body of this magazine show. So that was a huge learning experience, because there were times I was out of my comfort zone. There were times I wasn't a great teammate. There were times where it was the first time we really got to travel frequently, like went to all-star games, went to the Atlanta NBA all-star game in 2003, the LA all-star game in 2004.
Right.
Took trips to see, like, for different shoots, for one specific shoot, we started working with like show sponsors. So like Reebok sponsored the show, the NBA XL show. So we were doing like Reebok stuff. I went to like a Reebok commercial, and shot like a behind the scenes. So that time really informed how a lot of my career going forward would be, whether it's working with brands, working with corporate partners, working on teams, working on bigger teams, working in group dynamics, working with different production elements. That was big time formative.
Yeah. That's kind of where you guess got your comfortability in, and your comfort zone in, and that's great to hear, man. Also, like, I wanted to know, besides the Kobe Bryant interviews that you had with him, legendary basketball star, who unfortunately passed away in the tragic way ever. Honestly, R.I.P. Which ones would you look back at, and besides Kobe, because I don't want to get into it because it's very sentimental, but which ones are your favorites to look back at besides the Kobe ones?
Which like interviews?
Yeah, the interviews, yeah.
Which interviews? Do
Yeah.
I look back on?
Yeah, that you like, saw yourself and you're like, wow, like I had a great time with that person.
Well, all of them. I mean, but sorry, I had a great time in all of them.
Yeah.
I haven't watched. Well, you know what? Probably like 70% of what I did at the score is not online. So
Right.
they just live in my brain. So I can't actually physically watch them.
Right.
At the time, we weren't like YouTube came online in like '04 and then pivoted to a platform where people were sharing more than like dating videos.
Right. Yeah.
They're just sharing videos of like what they were doing in their everyday lives in like 2005. And
Right.
that's where, when I rejoined the score, that's when the segments really started to pick up steam and they really started to like gain notoriety. And from 2005 to 2010, that's when most people remember my career at the score. Now you mentioned Cabbie Presents, which is after the score.
Yeah, that was my
But I
era.
think,
Yeah.
well, so thank you for that. I
No
appreciate
worries.
that.
Yeah.
So what do I look back? I don't know if that I've watched. I'm trying to think of the last. What was the last movie? What's the last old school video that I watched? It was probably it was in the last couple of months. Somebody sent something to me. Um, just give me a sec here, and I'll remember it. It was probably the limo. It was either Kobe in the limo, or there was another one. Kobe in the limo was not was 09, no 08, 08 or 09, 09. But there was something earlier. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna get it. Hold on.
No,
You
no,
can edit this part because I'm actually trying to
no
remember.
worries. No. If you want,
Again,
I can tell you my favorite until you jog back your memory.
Yeah. What is your favorite?
My favorite, it's in recent times. Because like I was too young to see your, career at the score and your interviews, but Cabbie Presents was my era when I used to come back from school. That's what I used to watch on TSN. And I remember it was live and then I saw it on YouTube because it cut too early in the program, so I had to go back on YouTube and watch it. But it was the Rosen and Lowry one where they were both in Toronto and you did the fun segment with them. That was my favorite.
Thank you. You kind of mashed them together because I've interviewed them together probably
Yeah, it was together. Yeah.
3 times or
It was really fun.
there
I
was
liked it.
which is fine because you have one memory of like
Yeah.
those guys. There was a Christmas episode where I gave them ugly sweaters, I think of themselves. There was
I remember that one. That was good. I
an
remember that
NBA All-Star one where around the time that the All-Star game was in Toronto, and I asked Kyle if the 3-point contest, which he was competing in,
Yep.
had to replace the slam dunk contest as like the premier event. He said yes. But in that year, in 2016,
Yep.
Aaron Gordon versus Zach LaVine gave us the greatest slam dunk contest in the history of dunk contests. It's the greatest one.
Yeah, the greatest one, honestly.
All respect to Vince Carter and Michael Jordan. That's the greatest
honestly, yeah, respect to them, but that was the greatest.
Agreed. And then the third one it was on a media day, and I was just asking them about like their bromance. And at the end, I gave them a cake because they'd played together for 5 years. It's like, oh, here's your 5-year anniversry cake. And then at the end, they mushed the cake in my face.
I think it was that one that I watched that they smashed it in your face.
Those mother bleepers, yeah.
Well, Larry's long gone in Miami, so you don't have to worry about him anymore.
No doubt. Actually, okay, I do remember the one I saw most recently because I was talking to Norm Powell, like we're DMing, and it was something called the Alpha Test. And I wrote it specifically for Pascal and Norm. And it's, I don't know if we could call like it's a segment of its time, like many of my segments, because I couldn't replicate a lot of the foolishness that I did 10, 12 years ago.
Right.
It was the Alpha Test. So I was getting them to like rate themselves on this particular test. And I asked, Pascal if he would take Rihanna's last name. If he married Rihanna, he said no. I asked Norm, like, if he's at a bar and people are chanting, do it, do it, do it, would he then do the behavior that the people around him wanted him to do? And he said, no, I'm not a follower. I'm like, I would do it. He goes, well, you're a follower.
Right.
And then I burned him. He burned me once and I burned him back pretty good. Anyway, I was watching that one because, I'm preparing to go interview him in LA next in January or February. And that was, I watched that one a couple of months ago.
That's good. That's good.
Thank you. Thanks.
No worries. Yeah. Norm Powell, for those of you who don't know, who played for the Toronto Raptors. He did us many wonderful, he played many wonderful seasons with the Raptors. He was on the championship roster back in 2019. For those of you who are not NBA fans out there, just a little spill on who Norman Powell is. So I hope you have a great interview with him or a great discussion with him.
I hope so too.
I hope I get to interview him in the future, Norman Powell. That would be insane for me. We'll see how
he's
that
awesome.
goes. Yeah, he's a great guy. But Cabbie, I wanted to know, like, how was your experience at CTV, like on the Maryland Dennis show? I know you've always been on the Score or TSN Sportsnet, but that was like, completely different being on like a regular show on the network as compared to the sports network. How was that experience for you?
Yes, it was completely different. 180 degrees different. Mostly we were speaking to a different audience. In sports, the main demo is males 18 to 34 and 34 to 49. Like, I'm not saying only those two demos, but the most compact, no, that's not the right word. The most numerous demographic is between those two. Right. So working on the Maryland Dennis show, and Maryland Dennis is a Canadian icon. She's wonderful to work with.
She's wonderful,
In whatever contributor pieces I was filing, it was for her audience. And that's a more mature, more educated audience than the college bros that we loved speaking to when we're at the Score and at sometimes TSN too. So I had to change my approach. I had to learn a lot, and I learned about that audience and what that a morning show, like a morning daytime show audience, like the topics and the conversation and the segments where I had to learn about what that audience craved and how the show could give it to them. So that was a big learning experience for me as well. And also the crew was a lot different. Like at the Score, there are, like 220 to 30 somethings, got up to about 200, mostly dudes, probably like 80% dudes.
Right.
And working on the Maryland Dennis show, there were like 35 people, 40 people, and like 37 of them were women, and like women in their 20s and 30s and 40s. Like it was a much different environment.
Yeah, for sure.
I just had to like adapt. And I learned a ton. I had a lot of fun at times, like just, goofing around with people and stuff. And being on the show was awesome. It was a great pleasure of mine. So that was my experience there.
Yeah, that's great to hear, man. Yeah, because like you've been in the sports media industry for quite some time, and then to shift gears and go into a completely different sector within the media industry itself, the whole scope, that was like a pretty.
Actually, I'll tell you one story. One thing that was a lot different there than any other place that I've worked. So Maryland Dennis's show was shot at 299 Queen. So I used to call it the Much Music Building. Some people call it the CTV building. And there are two times where we got like company-wide emails that like when stars were in the building, you had to act accordingly. So there was one time Elton John was announcing that he was performing in a play on, it was at like the Queen Elizabeth Theater or something like that. Or maybe his husband I think his husband's a composer. Anyway, Elton John was going to be in the building. So it was like, the email was like in bold, caps lock, do not speak to Elton John. Do not look at him. Like very like curt. and forceful language, like do not do any, like don't make this person feel uncomfortable
Great.
because we want this environment to be great and we want these people to come back.
Exactly. Yes.
So that was one. Another time it was Coldplay was in the building, and it was not quite as direct, but also just like, hey, don't approach the artist. Do not ask for autographs or a photo. Just keep it moving.
Yeah.
This is a workplace. So I was working at my desk on Maryland show, and I just happened to look up, and there was Chris Martin. We lock eyes. I'm like, oh, nice, Chris. And he kind of nodded. He's like, hey, man. And then I just went back to my email or whatever the hell I was typing. But it was just a cool moment to be like, just in the office, like, oh my gosh, there's Chris Martin from Coldplay. Like, this guy is a global star, and he's 25 feet or 20 feet from where I'm typing some garbage, not garbage, but something for a show. I shouldn't say garbage. It wasn't garbage, but it was a cool moment. So yeah.
That's a really cool experience. I mean, within this media industry, I'm hoping I could meet, A-list celebrities like you've met.
I'm sure you will. I know you will.
Thank you, Cabbie. I appreciate it, man. So yeah, it's just huge for me to have you on, man. Like, you don't understand. Like, I grew up watching you every single day, so this is huge.
Thank you.
Yeah. So kind of shifting from the whole media industry, asking the personal questions and whatnot, I want to go towards the NBA, specifically our hometown team, the Toronto Raptors. How do you feel about them this season thus far?
My feelings are mixed.
Okay.
I want to give the new coach time
Right.
to implement his system, for the players to learn it,
Yep.
for Scotty to evolve as a leader, and the chess piece that Masai and Bobby are building around.
Right.
So I'm optimistic in that way, and then I'm pessimistic. I feel some type of way for Pascal Siakam, who's helped to deliver an NBA championship. He's been here for his entire career. He's an amazing dude, amazing in the community. Obviously, I'm not privy to conversations behind the scenes with Masai, Bobby, and Pascal and Christian, his brother, in that camp. I have no idea what the future of Pascal Siakam is or will be with the Toronto Raptors. I love it when him and Scotty go, over 20, 30 points in the same game. I wish that happened more frequently.
For sure, yeah.
I also think about like losing the heart and soul of the squad, which is Fred VanVleet. I mean, we lost him in free agency to Houston, and that guy was crucial to our success in the late teens and the mid or early 2020s.
Yep.
So it's mixed. I'm always optimistic as a fan. I'm not one of these like, oh, our team's trash, this person's trash, because these guys have these guys have one of 450 jobs in the world, in the whole world. So nobody in the NBA is trash.
No,
even though you'll go in the comment section and people will be lighting them up. People will be like, yo, Dylan Brooks is trash. Dylan Brooks will give you work. You could see Dylan Brooks on any court in the world. I know Dylan Brooks doesn't play for the Raptors. He plays for the Houston Rockets now, formerly the Memphis Grizzlies. A Canadian from Mississauga. Who casually goes by Villain Brooks. People call him trash. That guy will work you 100 games out of 100 games.
Yeah, most definitely.
Probably couldn't even score a point on, not you, but anybody watching this, score us basket.
I don't think I could score a point. Yeah, I don't think so. But whenever,
even though the team is middling around 500, I'm optimistic that the team could go on a run 4 or 5 games here and there and compete for one of the top. Optimistically, compete for a top 6 seed.
Sure. More
realistically, play in, and then go from there.
I couldn't agree with you more. But yeah, it's just the Raptors. You okay, man? You good? All right. So the Raptors, yeah, it's just a different sort of time, because like it's not the 2019 roster with Kawhi. It's much more, mellow, more different in the playing style because we got a new coach in Darko. But do you have any expectations of players like Scotty? Do you want more out of Scotty? Do you want more out of Pascal? Or who do you want to see? Who do you expect more from this season? That's what I'm saying.
I don't have expectations for the guys.
Okay.
I know I'm a fan of sports and I'm a fan of the team,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that their expectations of themselves are greater than any fan watching.
I see.
Scotty's in year 3, 4. Jeez, I should know this.
He was the
Scotty's
rookie of the
developing the way.
year. He was the rookie of the year in 2020.
Yeah, he's year 4,
He's
right?
year 3, year 4. Yeah, you're right.
Um,
The time flies, yeah, but I know what you mean.
it does, but I'm also so yeah, Scotty's developing the way that he is projecting to, and they've given him the keys to the Porsche. Like, hey, this is your car now.
Yeah, exactly.
Go do. And the kid's not going to turn into, LeBron as a do everything, point forward. I mean, he could maybe breathe some of that air eventually
Sure. Why
in
not?
year 8 or 9, but that is
Sure.
a massive plateau to reach.
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking about number 1 or number 2 ever. So I don't want to put that expectation on
Right.
Scotty, but he's got obviously the physical gifts, and then just like being able to play within the system, getting his teammates involved, which he's doing. It's just, some fans just aren't as patient, and hopefully the front office is more patient. They're like, hey, we know how these things go. We have the experience, and we can see with other teams, with other players, on other franchise players, on other squads around the league, that these things take time. You're not going to get a Ja Morant level leap from like year 3 to 4 with everybody. Like, there are very few, a handful every generation that can make huge leaps from one year to the next. A Luka Doncic, a Ja Morant, Nikola Jokic, who seemingly came out of nowhere and is now just slaughtering the league. The guy's playing 2K on easy, it seems like, against the best players in the world with a body like his, and he's just unbelievable. So I have patience.
Yeah, I mean, patience is key. Just wait and see how this team progresses, moving forward in the season. And, what do you expect? Do you think the team's going to make any trades come trade deadline, or do you think it's just going to be what it is with Scotty and Pascal? And then we're going to wait until the offseason this summer to see how Masai is going to reassess the team.
History tells us that the Raptors won't make a midseason trade. I've only done that once, maybe twice.
I think they've done it a couple times. They've done it.
Rudy Gay was traded in like
Rudy Gay was traded. I remember that day because
Kyle Lowry
was the best day of my life. Because after, do you know why? Because that year I became a Raptors fan. Rudy Gay trade happened. Every single year they go into the playoffs. I started that basically. I in my head.
Okay, well, nice. I like that juju. It's positive.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's impossible to know what Masai's up to. Like, that front office is like the tightest in basketball. No, there are no leaks. Loose lips sink ships.
You never know. Like, he did that trade with PJ Tucker. He did that trade with Serge Ibaka. You remember? So those were all at the trade deadline. We'll wait and see. There's been a lot of Zach LaVine rumors I've been hearing around the league, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Well, we'll see.
I guess we'll see. And listen, if the price is right, if if whoever calls has the right pieces to offer, and they bring in a third team to match the salaries, I mean, who knows? The NBA, one thing that's guaranteed is, in the NBA there are always blockbuster trades.
That's true.
Like, huge stars move teams every year.
Yeah, that's true, my friend. Yeah,
it's a sport like no other. I mean, maybe I don't know if the Premiership has as many transfers, but
you can look at the Premiership, right?
Do they have like huge, like,
some of the times they do, like this January transfer window that's approaching us, we might see a couple of shock moves to the Premier League, or shock
who's the dude on Twitter X? Is it Fabrizio? What's that one dude's
Fabrizio Romano?
Yeah, who is
The
There's
number one guy.
Woj and
Yeah.
Shams and Fabrizio. Like that guy never gets it wrong and has
No,
every
he knows
transfer,
every
every huge
single
signing.
trade. Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, he knows every single transaction in the soccer world up to date.
The guy
The
can't sleep.
best.
There's no way he sleeps. And
No,
he
no, he
must have
doesn't.
three
He doesn't.
phones.
He doesn't. He has like I saw a video. He had like literally six laptops in front of him, like eight phones in front of him. He kept picking up, and he didn't sleep. That was his life. But
There's
he's
no
very
way that he
successful. But he's
well,
very
yeah, in his career for sure. And he is like the insider in the biggest
yeah.
game in the
He's the number
world.
one sports, soccer journalist, let's just say, in the world, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
and I'm sure he's compensated handsomely for it, but there's
Right.
no way that guy could have uh like a wife or I mean or like a partner.
I don't
I mean
know.
he
I think
can, but would he
I think his wife is soccer, Cabbie. Let's just say
yeah.
that.
He's married to the game.
He's
Yeah.
married to the
He's
game,
married to the
exactly.
game.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, yeah, it's a life I wouldn't want because like you have no downtime and
Yeah.
he's probably constantly paranoid that someone will beat him to a story or like he'll be sleeping when he gets a text message from some agent of a superstar that's like, all right, we're leaning here. We're going to PSG. We're going to we're going to go play or not. Yeah. We're going to Man City or Tottenham or whatever the friggin' team is,
Yeah, he's just
it's,
on the move all the time, never gets sleep.
yeah,
Like he's a
nuts.
player. He's a player in itself, honestly. Like I think he's like actually a professional athlete, but he just doesn't get sleep because he has to, update everyone on Twitter,
Us. Yeah.
us all the time. And kudos to him because like I wouldn't have that, I guess that persistency of just, all the time, 24/7 updating about every single team, every single transaction that takes place. I'm talking about, Saudi Arabian leagues,
So
Indian leagues,
many clubs too,
so many
like
clubs in this
hundreds
world.
of
This
clubs.
like I could only do it for like maybe like two or three. This man is covering the entire sports
Yeah.
like league worldwide, which is incredible to witness. But Cabbie, there's like 2 minutes left in our interview, but I just want to say thank you for coming on, brother. I really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it. And last but not least, just one last question. Any advice you want to give, future, people who want to go into the sports journalism or media industry?
Content creators, yes.
Yeah.
Find your voice, not your physical voice, but your perspective, your point of view,
Right.
and just put in reps, whether you're like the analytical type, whether you use humor or satire, whether you are giving opinions on something, whether you're breaking down sports from a business angle or purely entertainment, like curating memes or curating moments. You're doing fashion, you're doing funny things, you're doing sick highlights. Work on your point of view and then master the skills of editing and Photoshop. So get familiar with the Adobe suite,
For sure.
Premiere and Photoshop, and then you'll become your own little studio and you can create from your laptop anywhere in the world.
Perfect, my friend. Couldn't said it better himself. Cabbie. Of course, you can follow him on his Instagram. I'll put his social handles in the link in the description below. Cabbie, thanks so much for being on my show, man. I really appreciate it. It was a great time.
You're welcome, Danny. Thank you.